Chapter 15. A Necklace of True Pearls. The distant clock tolled the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning as Emily tossed and turned restlessly on the hard bench. Where was Kipper? Why hadn't he come at midnight, just like before? Had he promised he would be there? What could have happened to him? The minutes dragged slowly by, and another half-hour passed. Then suddenly there was the familiar sound of a key grating in the lock. Joyful, Emily jumped up from the bench and ran to the door. It was Kipper, just as she had expected. But what a different boy he appeared this time. His head was a mat of disheveled red curls, and some clinging damply to his forehead in small, wet corkscrews. His eyes were huge, and he was panting heavily as if he had been running hard and fast for quite some distance. "What is it? What happened?" Emily cried. "Someone after you?" Kipper shook his head, dazed. "No, 'tain't anything like that, Emily, but there's more dark, mysterious things going afoot, and all got to do with you." "Me?" Kipper nodded. "And what you got to do now is come with me, 'cause you've been sent for." Emily started. "Sent for?" "Oh, no need to fear. 'Tain't by the snake lady or Mrs. P, but by an individual that don't want to be made known to you till he spoke his case." Emily felt as if all the blood was suddenly drained from her body. "Uncle Twice?" she breathed. "Kipper, did you find Uncle Twice?" Kipper's eyes filled with sympathy. "No, 'tain't your Uncle Twice, Emily. But you gotta come anyway, or don't, nor won't, nor can't. No using minding old folks right now much as you like, 'cause there's others with lives hanging in it, namely, you and your Aunt Twice." "What of Uncle Twice's life?" whispered Emily faintly. "I don't know anything about that, Emily. All I know is this individual's waiting for you at Pa's place. Pa sent along one of his old sea-going jackets. He knows how you got lost in it, but he says 'twill keep you warm. Besides, 'twouldn't go velvet coats and no fur collars in this part of town we got across to get to Pa's." Emily took from Kipper a navy blue jacket faded by salt and sun and thick with the smells and stains of 1,000 journeys over the sea. Kipper's Pa's jacket. The thought of being wrapped in this comforting object was the only thing holding Emily up at that moment. "Don't put it on just yet," Kipper said quickly. "You can leave it here, 'cause first we gotta make a visit to the Sugar Hill Hall to find some papers this individual says he's got to have. And the papers is in that ballroom you've been talking about, Emily." The ballroom? They were going to go into it at last. But how would they get there? The same way as what the snake lady and Mrs. P got there. Through the tunnel, up the stairs, and through the trapdoor. We unlock it with this, what the individual gave me. Kipper held up the tarnished brass key. "We can go in safety, 'cause the ladies in residence being at this moment in the cellar of Jolly Sailor. But we ain't got more time to waste." Even before he finished speaking, Kipper was on his way, down the stone steps into the tunnel. Emily hurried after him, and it took only moments to find a second steep stone stairway, which was hidden in a small cave-like room directly behind the stairs to the remembrance room. It was easy to see how this second flight of stairs could be missed. Halfway up, however, Emily's footsteps faltered. "Oh, Kipper!" There was a sob in her throat. "I know what you're thinking, Emily. You're thinking of what might be at the top of that trap door. Well, it ain't papers," Kipper said. "Right now, howsomever, we ain't got a choice but to see." He lifted the trapdoor carefully, peered in under it, and then whispered, "Wee you! Come take a look at this, Emily." Standing beside Kipper, Emily looked at last upon the ballroom that had once been the source of so much pleasure. But even though the walls were faded and the mirrors tarnished, the flickering light from several gas lamps now danced on the startling display of color and magnificent beauty that far outdistanced anything she had ever seen before. Shimmering emerald green, scarlet, royal blue, and purple brocades lay spread around the room like sleeping silk serpents. Curved tables of teak, mahogany, and rosewood bore delicate vases, bowls carved of precious turquoise, jade, and rose quartz. But what perhaps was the most dazzling of all were the shelves and tables sparkling with diamond and ruby necklaces, heavy chains of gold and silver, emerald and sapphire brooches and rings, and other exotic jewels whose names could only be guessed. It was a scene to take anyone's breath away. But beyond all this display were 2 kings' ransom. The room was empty. "No Uncle Twice," Emily whispered. The ballroom had seemed to offer the last hope of ever finding him, and now all was gone. He must really be dead. I know it now. You don't know any such thing, said Kipper staunchly. Ain't anybody said he was in this room for certain. He'll come to light one of these days, hale as hellbit and fit as a flounder, as Pa always said. Those words of cheer were, unfortunately, not matched by the look on Kipper's face. There was no time, however, for sorrow or sympathy. Kipper's eyes searched the room. Whew, there's 'tis right over yonder by that door. His voice exploded. By dingus, Emily, there is a door. It leads right into the snake lady's room, all right and disguised by a wardrobe. Always wondered about that second wardrobe with the big lock. Well, now I know. They darted through tables, making their way towards the huge, heavily carved black desk in the corner. Emily ran after him, but as she did, she suddenly saw something on a table that gave her a sharp stab of joy, mingled with deep sadness at the same time. Kipper, she cried, here's Mama's necklace of true pearls given to her by Papa when I was born. I know the clasp anywhere. Papa had made it especially with the initials E-O-L for Emily Ophelia Locock. Stole from your trunk, of course, Emily, Kipper exclaimed over his shoulder. He was busy pulling out one drawer after another. I trust you ain't surprised. This loot is about stealing and smuggling. I expect smuggling is about that brass button from the seaman's uniform came into the tunnel. A mighty cozy arrangement. I'd say a tunnel running right into this mansion. Ooh, again. He lifted up a large sheaf of papers from the bottom drawer. See, Emily, see here? He pointed excitedly to the top. Says Locock. That's exactly what this individual wanted. Come now. I got him now, so let's go. Hesitantly, Emily set the pearl necklace back on the table where she found it. Ain't you going to take it with you? Kipper looked astonished. Would it be all right? If you ain't the one, Emily, of course it's all right. They're yours, ain't they? There was property stolen from you. Here, I'll pin 'em on you. Emily felt the beloved pearls being clasped around her neck. Tears flew to her eyes. The pearls had once been worn by Mama, and might be all she would ever have of her past. Even her present now had a question mark after it, because who knew what would come from this mysterious journey with Kipper? Question following question. Was there ever an end to them, or to the horrors of Sugar Hill Hall? All right, we have chapter 17, chapter 18, and we're done. This book is getting so good. I hope you guys are still loving it, and I will see you soon.